me provide you a little bit more background about my area of research. Yeah, as Prof. Sharon has mentioned just now, my training and my area of research is in literacy and language education. What this means is that I am interested to understand different groups of readers and their reading experience across multilingual, multimodal, and multimedium contexts. So what I'm going to draw upon today is from a research project, is my FRGS grant. So this project that I am going to refer to in its third year, I'm the principal investigator, and I've got 3 other partners with me from UPSI, Utah, and UM. So let me quickly just mention about this project. Yeah. So this project that we are doing, it's in our third year right now, and in fact we've had this time extension given to us. That's why it's gone on into its third year. Part of what we want to do in the research is to try to understand the fundamental problem of illiteracy and semi-literacy amongst young readers in rural, marginalized environments. Yeah. We know that they have difficulty reading, so we want to understand the complexities within which they face these difficulties, and to find ways in which they can make meaning from words, but through different modalities. Okay. So in this research project that we were dealing with, the second phase in the research project, so we had 2 phases in our research project. Yeah, the first phase was when we went out to collect quantitative data. Yeah, so the first phase was quantitative in nature. We went out to collect quantitative data, and in the second phase, we set up this reading and meaning making workshop. Yeah, where we have identified a few schools who, in a sense, fall below the national average as far as literacy is concerned. So in the workshop, we were going to carry out about 4 different workshops, and we had this, for example, if you see these pictures on the screen, these are the children who were part of our workshop. Yeah, we wanted to have them come in and do different things that deal with literacy, but not using phonics directly. Yeah? So the pictures you see are them. I think this was about probably 2 weeks before the entire national and global shutdown happened. Yeah. So the challenge came about when the schools shut down. So with the schools shutting down, we couldn't. With the schools shutting down, we couldn't enter the class, and we couldn't continue our reading and meaning making workshop. So part of the workshop requires us to run a couple of interviews with these children. Yeah, we wanted to speak to them after the workshop was over to get feedback from them, yeah, about what they felt, what they think, and what they remember about the workshop. So when schools shut down, we couldn't enter. Even in August or September last year, when the schools reopened for a short while, we tried to gain access again, but of course, understandably, we weren't allowed, yeah, into the school. So early this year, we decided that we had to do something about it. We had to try to rearrange. Yeah. So I got in touch with the school and I asked for the school's help if they could arrange for us to have interviews with the children through online platforms. Yeah. Because my understanding is the children have Google Meets. That's what they do. That's what they use for their classroom, normal online classroom approaches. Then I found out from the teacher that for these children, Google Meets is also something that that they may not necessarily have access to. Yeah, so we have to bear in mind that these children come from, again, rural Perak, and they come from homes that are socioeconomically disadvantaged. Yeah, so something that we take for granted, they don't necessarily have. Yeah, so finding out that they don't have Google Meets, the teacher says that the best thing we can do is to use WhatsApp. Yeah, WhatsApp call or WhatsApp. So I explored the WhatsApp software, and I found that if you have WhatsApp desktop on your desktop or on your laptop, you can create this through the WhatsApp desktop. You can create a room where you can have 5-6 people within the room, and you can have video call. So if you can imagine, you can have a video call of, let's say, 4 or 5 people in the room. You can actually carry out a focus group interview. Yeah. So I was quite excited about it. I set it up. So you can see here the picture of the room that I've set up. When we, as the creator, we create the room using WhatsApp desktop. You got to create it via Messenger, and it does require either a Facebook account or I think even a Google account will do. Yeah. So, but what's good is that your participants or whoever is using this platform will not need to have any other accounts or any other apps. Yeah. All they need to do is you will create this room and you will share with them this link. And once you share this link with them, all they need to do is click on that link and they will enter the room. There's a sort of a waiting place. And then after that, you admit them and they enter into your room. And they have the video call, yeah, straight away, right? So in that sense, it is very straightforward and it is quite convenient, yeah? So the other question that I had was, if I was to carry out this interview using WhatsApp call through Messenger, I need to record it as well, yeah? So I sought some advice and I got from my technician to use this software called Bandicam. So Bandicam is a very safe, it's free, the software is free. You can download it and then install it onto your own laptop. So what happens is you set up Bandicam in the background, yeah? And Bandicam will be able to record whatever is going on your screen, and you'll be able to record the audio that's going on as well. All right, so that's it helps you put in the built-in recording into your laptop. Yeah. So we set this up and we were happy to see that there were about 8 parents who were willing to have their children talk to us in the online interview, yeah, through the virtual mode. So the first participant, the mother agreed, and we set up a time frame, and I shared the link with the mother. Yeah, so this link that you see here is bilik, the link for the bilik. I shared with the mother on WhatsApp chat, and she said okay. So on the day of the interview, my partner and I were in the room. We were waiting, and our cameras were ready. We got the message from the mother saying that her internet connection on the other side is too slow. She says it's too slow. She's unable to enter. Yeah, that means it's to do with bandwidth. It's to do with perhaps the package that she has. Yeah. So at that very last minute, because they couldn't enter into our room, we then created a WhatsApp group call on the phone, but not on the desktop, on the phone, and I had no choice but to run the interview with the child on my handphone. Yeah, so that created a challenge in that. Number one, I couldn't record that because the handphone doesn't have that, or at least I didn't know any ability for the handphone to record that, and that was challenging. Yeah, and number two, it also made me think about mobile data. Yeah, it crossed my mind at that point that for these participants and the families, what we take for granted, what we assume, that if you have WhatsApp, you would have enough mobile data, you would have, you'll be able to enter into what seemingly looks like a simple, so-called setup, may not be the same for other people, yeah, for different groups of people, yeah. So that struck me as well. So at that point in time, then that challenge made me rethink the next interview, yeah. So the next interview, when we had the second child whose mother and father agreed for him to come on board, what happened was that the child's father shared the phone number, but the phone number is a phone number that is not supported by WhatsApp. Okay, there's no WhatsApp number, it doesn't support that. So for the second child now, I had to resort to using normal phone, yeah, just the normal phone to call. So you have to also bear in mind, part of what we wanted to do for our interview was to have the children look back at a collage that they were doing. Yeah. So the collage that they did with us in the workshop, where we have them all in image form, in JPEG, in PNG, we have it all in image. So because I needed to share that image with the parent, and because that parent, the second child, the parent didn't have WhatsApp app on his phone, so I couldn't share the image with the parent. I then tried to use the SMS which comes across as an MMS. Yeah. When I tried, the father then replied to say that it doesn't support, his phone doesn't support that, so his son couldn't see the image. But kudos to the father. I mean, I was very appreciative. He actually spent some time. I'm not sure what he did, but he got either someone else's phone or somebody else around there, and he passed another number to me, and he said, you can try to send the picture through this different number. So I sent the picture through that different number. Then I called the child on the normal phone, and the child could see the picture and talk to me at the same time, but just on audio. Yeah. Okay. So why I'm saying all this, what I'm doing, in this session is that, number one, I want to raise these challenges. Yeah, these are the challenges that I faced, that my team faced in collecting qualitative data on virtual modes. Yeah. So the first one is, one of the main ones was the whole idea, the whole notion about bandwidth. Yeah, the challenge of us presumably assuming that a couple of minutes call on a WhatsApp device is simple and straightforward, but not necessarily so. Yeah, so the idea of bandwidth does not mean that everybody has the same kind of bandwidth, or that that if they are using their bandwidth or the mobile data to run the interview with us, they are using it out of what they would usually use it for other things. Yeah, so something that could be perhaps used for something more important for them, we use this for interview. Yeah. And the basic phone became the resolution, and the recording of the interview, which couldn't be done properly, forced me to take notes immediately. Okay, but what I want to point out here is this: that when we face challenges in our qualitative data collection, we need to theorize that challenge. Yeah, so I would propose for myself to reposition the outcomes of the findings. Yeah, and here I'm suggesting to utilize the overall guiding frame. So this is where the first link that I shared with you just now actually refers to a paper that I published in 2019, where I put up this overall guiding frame, the OGF. Yeah, where I suggest that OGF is important because we need to look at epistemology, methodology, our research objectives and our research questions. Yeah, how they all link together and how they change. Yeah, so I will talk a bit more about the OGF afterwards. And next thing is also that when we theorize our findings, we can potentially extrapolate, yeah, our findings for future action. So we bring across, for example, I will say perhaps for future consideration in, let's say, me dealing with grants, for example, to think about allocating funding for participants' families for internet bandwidth, for example. Going forward, it is potentially possible that things will not be the same again. Schools may be wary for us to enter or to us to have more face-to-face connections with children. So perhaps these online measures become more and more important, and that perhaps we will have to ensure that there is some way or some means for our participants to be able to contact us, and that they do not need to use, in a sense, money out of their pocket. Yeah, because it's not, in a sense, it's not fair for them. Yeah, even if they were willing to do so. All right. So part of my OGF, these are the questions that I ask myself in order to theorize, yeah, my findings. Yeah. So I ask myself, how does this data illuminate my research objective? This data here refers to the data of not being able to collect the usual data. Okay, I'll say that again. The data that I'm referring to here is not so much the actual interview data, which I did get pretty good data for the second participant who did talk to me for quite long. We were on the phone for about 20 minutes. But here, this data is theorizing the challenges. Yeah, how does this now impact the way I see the study, and I see the objectives of the study? Yeah? How does this data raise new questions about my research objective? How are the methods selected for the data able to yield findings or not able to yield the conventional findings? Yeah, and yielding different ways of looking at the phenomenon. How do findings from preliminary analysis inform the future of fieldwork? So the future of fieldwork would be the future of other projects that come after this. What are the assumptions I bring to bear into the research? And then how would these assumptions change if my social positioning changes? Yeah. So what I want to probably emphasize is this. At the heart of qualitative research, as we are qualitative researchers, are these, I think 6 important features. Yeah, we know, I think many of us are familiar with the notions of the bricklayer. Yeah, made very popular by Denson and Lincoln. Yeah, the notion of the bricklayer is the creator, the person who is he's creative at the center of it all, but that brings together bits and bobs, that brings together different parts of things that happen, and it comes together and then turns it into something new. Yeah, and synthesizes it into something new. Yeah, so the bricklayer has to be creative and has to be able to perhaps look at different parts and turn that into something new. Yeah, so that's the qualitative researcher. The social phenomenon is another thing that is important for us to think about. Yeah, social phenomenon is, there are a lot of unexpected things. There are lots of twists and turns. So we just have to remember that when they come along, we have to be brave enough, yeah, to confront them. Yeah. Qualitative research is also participatory. We sometimes forget that our participants, they are not subjects. They are spending time, and for some of them in different spaces, they're spending money. Yeah, money they could spend elsewhere. They spend it on us. Yeah, so it is important for us to bear that in mind. It is constantly participatory. Yeah, it's also emancipatory. Yeah, so this one makes me think about what we can do further. Yeah, dealing with, let's say, mobile data. Is there some other way that we can allow for the research participants to use mobile data, or to use the internet? Yeah, to be able to so-called emancipate, yeah, them from their circumstances. Yeah. For my research, I was looking at children in the margins. Had I been looking at young people as undergraduates, for example, I don't think I would have faced this problem. Yeah, but because communities in the margins, in communities that are more disenfranchised, again, we have to have very special considerations, yeah, for them. And finally, it's co-constructivist. Yeah, I think Crotty's idea of co-constructivism, is constantly there at the back of my mind. That it changes us as a researcher, it changes us as a mother, as a parent as well. So we have to write that into our studies, write that into our findings. Yeah. I will leave you with these 3 things that I learned across the time that I was struggling with the data collection. The first one is that as researchers, we have to make the adjustment on our side. Yeah, and in that sense, it is our responsibility. Number 2, it is dangerous for researchers to force the project if the participants simply do not have the resources. For those of us who carry grants, who have grants, we know the pressure that comes from our grant funders, rightly so. Yeah, the milestones we have to hit, the outcomes that we have to meet. Yeah, the human resource that we have to achieve. So we have to bear in mind that that is one side of the research, but our research participants, they are sacrosanct. Yeah, so they mustn't be in that sense forced. If they cannot produce so-called outcomes, then we have to write it differently. Yeah, to sort of work it into the project. All right. And finally, the idea that I have of double tracking. Yeah, to double track meaning to say that on the one hand we carry on and to be the bricklayer, to find different ways and means, and if it means at the moment to use the most basic of technology to get any kinds of insights from the participant, then we use that, we change it. We have to be fast enough and creative enough to adjust at any point. So we continue to do that, but at the second aspect, we have to theorize it. It's not good enough to just say that we have done this and we got maybe less amount of data or different kind of data. Why is it different? How is it different? And how has it impacted this current research that it will now change the direction and the trajectory of the next research?